Chapter 31. With no inkling of what was to come, I left there on top of the world. I just had to do something, for gosh sake. So I decided to go apologize to Aunt Loma like Grandpa told me to. Not that I was regretting those titty stories. I was just in the mood to enjoy hearing Aunt Loma fuss and fume. Every now and again, she didn't react like I thought she would. For instance, that time she got Papa to make me paint her dining room. After I finished, I caught about 10 of her cats, dipped their feet in the can of gold paint, and chased them around in the empty room. Boy, howdy, the floor in there looked like a darn leopard skin. I expected Aunt Loma would be furious, but she said what a darling idea. Thought I'd done it to please her. Well, she wouldn't be clapping her hands about the psst and pig stories, which by now would be coming at her from every direction. She'd like folks saying what a bad boy I was and how dirty-mouthed, but it would get her goat when they asked, "Loma, did you really nurse a pig?" Her not fussing at me yesterday at Sunday dinner didn't mean she hadn't heard. She was just too busy low-rating Miss Love to fool with me. And last night she was too upset over not getting the piano. And now as I came up on her back porch, Aunt Loma was the maddest white woman you ever saw. Her face was red, her blue eyes spat fire. Her fists were clenched and her voice harsh. "I'm so mad I could die, Will." That was her greeting. Boy, howdy, I thought. But it wasn't me she was mad at. She said, "Come look what Camp's done now." Jerking up Campbell Jr. from the kitchen floor, where he sat sucking a greasy chicken bone, Aunt Loma marched ahead of me to the parlor and pointed at the mantelpiece, gleaming with a new coat of hard, shiny white enamel paint. "Just look," she exploded. "What's wrong, Aunt Loma? I think it's a big improvement." "Go look, you'll see." I looked and I saw. Without wiping off the mantelpiece at all, Uncle Camp had painted around a tin matchbox and right over a cockroach, a pencil stub, and a shirt button. Trying not to laugh, I said, "Why didn't you make him get it up before the paint dried? Ain't nothing harder than enamel paint." "I only just noticed it, that's why." "It's gonna be a job to scrape it off." "I don't want it scraped off. I want Camp to be reminded how dumb he is every time he comes in this parlor." "Well, I can't bear to think I'm married to somebody that stupid." "He ain't that stupid," I said, trying to make her feel better. "Then he just don't care, and that's worse." "Maybe he did it on purpose." "You're crazy. He wouldn't have the nerve." "Maybe he ain't got any nerve when you get to fussing at him, Aunt Loma. But that don't mean he couldn't do this on purpose." Her face flushed. She knew I was calling her bossy. "You know good and well if I didn't keep after him, he would never do a blessed thing." "Yeah, but that don't mean he likes being pushed around. And maybe for once he's showing it. I feel right proud of him, Aunt Loma. Maybe you ought to be too." "Well, aren't you smart? I guess you got that notion from Miss Love Simpson Blakesley. I'll thank her to keep her mouth shut, especially to you." "Ain't nobody ever said nothing out loud about you henpecking Uncle Camp, Aunt Loma. It don't take much brains to notice, though. If you treated a colored cook like you do him, she'd quit." "Colored folks got more sense than Camp. Lord, Will, I had to show him the ropes before he knew what I was mad about." I would have laid a bet that when she got on him about it, Camp had looked down at the floor instead of at the mantelpiece. I bet he said, "I'm sorry, Loma, baby. I'm sorry." I hated how he was and how she treated him. Grandpa said I had to apologize about those stories I told on you, Aunt Loma, so I'm apologizing. "Pa told you to?" "Yeah, he did." She looked real pleased. "Well, now, I never thought he'd take up for me against you, Will." "He was mad as heck about it, tell you the truth, so I'm sorry. As soon as you finish bawling me out, I got to go." She set the baby down on a plaited cotton rug by the fireplace and spoke sternly. "All right, I'll bawl you out. How dare you say I nursed a pig?" Then she giggled. "Will, you're awful. You ought to be ashamed. But my land, I haven't enjoyed anything this much since I left LaGrange College. It's almost like playing the lead in a theatrical. Campbell Jr., come out of the fireplace. Get him, Will. He'll turn black before our eyes if he gets into that chimney sud." I picked the fat baby up and swung him around. He squealed with pleasure. "You're your mama's little piggy, ain't you, Campbell Jr.?" I held him high above my head, and he squealed again. So part of what I told was no pigtail. Aunt Loma laughed. It was like we were having a party. I put Campbell Jr. on my shoulder and rode him around, then tossed him up. Will, I've decided... Will, are you listening? Put the baby down and listen to me. I'm listening. I tossed him one more time and put him back on the floor. I've decided you ought to be a writer, Will. Those stories you told on me, they're outlandish, but they'd be so easy to act out. Those and all the other stories you tell. Will, I want you to write plays. She said it as solemn as if she was a queen, knighting me with words. I couldn't hide how pleased I was. I grinned from ear to ear. Still and all, why couldn't Aunt Loma just be nice and compliment me and let it go at that without saying what I had to be? Long as I could remember, she'd been trying to direct me like I was one of her dadgum Christmas pageants. It gave me some satisfaction to say, but I'm going to be a farmer. You know that, Aunt Loma, unless you ain't ever listened to me talk. I'm going to go to the ag college over at the university. Papa's aiming to buy Grandpa Tweedy's farm, and I'm going farming. Anybody can be a farmer, she said, flipping away my dream. We can't let a talent like yours go to waste, Will. And I want you to start by putting down those stories you made up about me. Do it right away before you forget them. She blushed a little. I don't mean I think you could sell them. They're too, well, most editors would call them vulgar. But they'll do fine for writing practice. If I had positively decided to be a writer and at that moment had picked up a pencil to get started, I'd have put it down. I just couldn't stand her telling me what to do. I don't like to write stories, I said stubbornly. I just like telling stories. But ain't nobody gonna make me do either one, especially not you, Loma Blakesley Williams. Campbell Jr. was crawling from her to me and back from me to her, but Aunt Loma didn't even notice him. All of a sudden she stood up and started singing, "Here comes the bride, dog bite her hide." We had sung it like that when we were children. Then she dum-dummed the rest of the wedding march. I didn't guess what she was doing till she made like she was adjusting a veil and mouthed "I do" and all, and then went psst. Her eyes rolled with mock alarm and her hands quickly hid one side of her chest. Then she doubled up laughing. I was laughing too. Campbell Jr. must have thought we were a couple of hyenas. How in the world did you think of such a thing as a rubber bust? She couldn't talk for ha-ha and he-he-ing. I was shocked that Aunt Loma had come right out and said bust in mixed company, but that just made it funnier. Between guffaws and gasps, we moaned and clutched our stomachs. The poor baby sat staring at us, then dropped his chicken bone and commenced squalling. To her credit, Aunt Loma picked him up, sat down in the rocker, and unbuttoned her dress for him. I always watched close when she did that, hoping she'd be careless, but she never was. Like all the other nursing ladies in Cold Sassy, Aunt Loma would turn sideways to her audience, or else cover herself with the baby, and also drape a clean diaper over herself. I got up to go, but she told me to wait till she could put Campbell Jr. down for his nap. She hummed the wedding march while she rocked him, only sometimes she had to press her lips together to keep from laughing out loud. Is there any such a thing, Will? As what? As, well, you know. If there is, I sure wished I'd heard about it in time for my wedding. And we both died laughing again, except it was quiet laughing so as not to distract the baby from nursing. In a few minutes, she sat him up and he let out a loud belch. I really got to go, Aunt Loma. Oh, you can wait another minute. I got something for you. She laid Campbell Jr. down on the rug by the fireplace, a clean diaper under his fat face, and he was asleep by the time she came back downstairs carrying a thick book. I made this before Campbell Jr. was born. She flipped open the book, which had cloth-covered cardboard covers and blank pages inside. I was going to copy all my poems and plays in it, but as you know, I never have a minute to call my own now. Her voice a little hard, she nodded towards the sleeping baby. So I want you to have it, Will. This was the nearest Aunt Loma had come to being nice since I was a little bitty boy. And I liked it, despite I also felt like she was trying to railroad me. When I hesitated, she held the book out to me. You must write something in it every day. She nodded to cement her words. Write down the stories you make up. Write poems and plays. Write down things that happen and surprising things you see or hear about. Listen when people talk and put their words down just like they speak. If you gonna be a writer, you got to practice. That's all there is to it. My professors preached that to me all the time at LaGrange College. Aunt Loma never missed a chance to mention LaGrange College, where she had studied elocution and expression. Well, I took the book and flipped through the blank pages, then handed it back. But I done told you I ain't gonna be no writer, you be one. Fat chance, she said bitter. Camp won't ever be able to afford a cook, not while he's working for Paul. And I can't write without help. I know that now. So you just do what I say, Will. Quit arguing. Here, read this. Opening it to the first page, she forced the book into my hands again. Look at this. At the top of the page, in fancy printing, it said Loma Blakesley Williams, her book. Under that it said, presented to Hoyt Willis Tweedy, July 1906. Do like I say, Will. And when you get famous, don't forget to mention it was your Aunt Loma that pushed you towards your destiny. Bossy, same old bossy, I thought. But I was touched. And all of a sudden, those empty pages were like the siren call I'd heard when I looked up at blind Tilly Tressel and wanted to see how it was up there. I knew I wouldn't write any dang poetry or plays. But right that minute, I got the notion I'd like to keep a journal. It's been 8 years since Loma gave me that book, and not long ago I read through all I wrote down on its blank pages. That's why I can remember so much that happened to Miss Love and Grandpa, and what went on in the family and the town, and what people said and how they said it, and how I felt when it was happening. Reading my notes in the journal brings it all back. I never knew before that Aunt Loma could be fun to be with. That like Grandpa and me, she preferred three-legged chickens to the usual kind. What really surprised me was finding out I liked her. At least that day I did. She was Grandpa all over again. She was hard-headed like him, wanted her own way like him, and had a sense of fun to match his. But of course she was mean and vindictive in a way Grandpa wasn't. At least that's what I thought right then. Not till the next morning, when the matter of the trip to New York came to a head, did I suspect he had a mean streak that put Loma's in the shade.